While here in Georgia, I certainly benefit from having mild winters, but even here in Georgia, I still have to use some protection for some of the more tender crops. Come with me, I'll show you what my favorite one is. So just a few days ago, I harvested and tilled up the last of our overwintered broccoli. Broccoli questionably could survive without protection, but I usually give it a little protection anyway. And what I do for protection is actually using hoops. These are made perfectly to fit 30-inch beds. I make them myself, and what I'll do is I'll put these out, and I usually space them 3 or 4 feet apart, and then I will cover it with floating row cover. Floating row cover is all I need here in Georgia to protect most of our crops. I'm transitioning right now. We're at the end of February, so it's actually starting to warm up here in Georgia. In fact, we're in the 70s today, mid to high 70s. So I've already taken all my winter hoops down, but I will actually be putting these out again and use them for early tomatoes, my equivalent of a greenhouse. So I actually make these myself using a Johnny Bender, a hoop bender. I'm going to make some right now. Come with me, I'll show you how I do it. To make our hoops, we use the Johnny's hoop bender. And in order to do that, you need to make a few markings on your pipe. This is 1/2 inch electrical conduit, 10 feet long. What you do is you start off, you measure 16 inches from the ground. Now I have several lined up so I can do several at once. So you come out 16 inches and you make a mark right there. Then I'm just going to transfer that mark all the way across. So I have a lot of them done at one time. And we've discovered it's helpful to have it in several spots, because when you go to use the hoop, this mark may be on the opposite side or something like that. So I like to kind of turn them over and put another mark as well, making sure the ends stay lined up. 16 inches. For the mark. There we go. You also need to mark the middle, which would be 5 feet right here. Same kind of principle. So to use Johnny's hoop bender, have your hoop bender secure tailgate of a truck. I have a little vice bitch here I use. So I take my 16-inch marker and I put it through the hoop bender until that line is with this clasp that holds it into the bender. Clasp right here. Then I just gently walk this around, making sure that I keep it following the bender. Helps to weight your bender down. Also helps to be on the outside there. Go a little past it. Take it out of the bender, turn it around. You also have this side marked for 16 inches. Same kind of thing, line it up with your hoop holder. Now you'll make sure that this is parallel. You don't want it to be like that. And then walk this around. You can see it starting to form shape. One more step after this, and you have a hoop. Okay, now I had this marked in half. Remember, 5 foot mark. Take the hoop, and the bender has a nut right in the middle too, or bolt. I line that 5 foot mark up, so that's the middle of the pipe and the middle of the bender. And then I will just squeeze the legs together. And there we have. Our hoop is ready. It's perfect for a 30-inch bed. Well, now that you know how to make the hoops, let me show you a couple of tricks in using them. I think the goal when using the hoops is not only protecting your crops, but personally I like to have it attractive. I like to have a nice, neat tunnel. I don't want, some of the hoops higher than the others, the sides to go out and forth. So actually there's a really easy way to make sure you have a nice, neat hoop structure. And let me show you how I do that. So this structure is for some early tomatoes. And this is actually the length I want because I'm going to set a few out early. But if I wanted to extend this, let me show you how I would do that. First thing I did was I staked a line at that end all the way to where I wanted the end of the hoops to be. And I used that line to make a straight line for the hoops, for this side of the hoops. I took the line, I took a hoe, and just made a small furrow all down that line. So that furrow, now that I have that furrow, I know that I can simply put one end of the hoop in that furrow, and then if I do that for all the hoops, then they're all going to be lined up, or at least this side is going to be lined up. The hoops are relatively the same size. You saw how I made them, but there is some human error. So the right may not be quite right, but it's going to be pretty close and no one's going to really notice with plastic or something on it. After I've got my furrow, I know where I want to put my hoop. The next thing is to determine how far apart I want my hoops. I simply use this handy dandy stick. And from this stick, I will lay it on my last hoop in the furrow, and then I will raise it up, and at the end of this stick is where the furrow is going to be. Now, or where's the hoop, this hoop is going to be. Now the next question is, I need to make sure when I drive the hoop down that I drive them all the same distance. I don't want some 5 inches in the ground, some 10 inches, this kind of thing, or then I have bumps in my hoop or my whole structure. How I do that is I just have a couple of nails here at the end of my stick that I'm using to drive the holes. These nails happen to be 7 inches from the bottom. That seems to work for me. You may want something different. So now that I know how far out and how to go in, the next is simply to drive the stake in until the nails reach the ground. Then I know that my hole is 7 inches. Here's what's going to happen to you. When you start to pull this stake out, all the surrounding soil is going to cave in. At least if you have soft garden soil, which I hope you do. So there is a trick I do for that as well. First, I will step all around the pole to firm any loose dirt. And then, when I pull the pole up, I will keep my both feet on each side of the pole so it comes out nice and neat and leaves a nice hole for me without everything caving in. By the pressure of my 2 feet on both sides, that really does help a lot. And voila, a nice neat hole. Okay, now that I have my nice hole, I'll put one side of my hoop in that. So that side is right. Now I need to measure how far over this needs to be from this last hoop. Use my same stick, so it's going to be the same distance. Looks like it's going to be right here. Drive, same process. Drive till the nails hit the ground. Firm around. Slowly pull up. Put the hoop in. And now I'm guaranteed this is relatively the same as this, which is relatively the same as the rest of them. So I have a nice form of plastic all the way across. Everything looks nice and smooth. No jutting sides or anything like that. Makes the garden look a lot nicer. And hey, you're going to be working in it, it may as well look nice and be pleasant to work in.